Particle Illusion is an industry standard particle VFX tool, and it's free. So why does no one ever talk about it? Hey, and welcome to Review in FX. Particle Illusion has been around for decades. You can make everything from fireworks, explosions, rocket smoke to nebulas, wormhole, and on and on. The standalone version was originally created by Alan Lawrence and sold through his company WonderTouch. There is a pay-for plugin for After Effects too. Boris FX bought WonderTouch and released Particle Illusion Standalone as a free download in 2020. I think part of the reason why PI doesn't get much attention is because for the majority of its early life, it was only standalone and one of its competitors, Trapcode Particular, runs inside AE and that overshadowed it. Which is a real shame, because PI's approach to library content is second to none. There's still occasional library releases of new particle configurations. One could make the case that with so many particle animations, you can end up in a Netflix-like situation where you're constantly previewing and never choosing. They do have a search option though, and in preferences you can configure what is searched too. You can make your own particles too, but it's much easier to just adapt an existing one. They've recently added node editing, which I find confusing as hell, but everything is driven by keyframes on the timeline. To use, once you have chosen a particle in preview, click into the stage area. A point appears unless you have chosen an area emitter, in which case a rectangle is attached to your cursor to drag to size. You can move this point at any time, and it's probably easiest to use the auto keyframe option. In my preferences, I've set the default interpolation method to Bezier, but you can adjust this using this icon. Constant locks the keyframe in place, linear is straight from one to the other, and Bezier gives you handles to adjust the path. There's not a lot of control over the speed of the particles. There is a graph editor, but when I was relearning this software for this video, I found I couldn't get a graph line to appear. Digging through the help documentation, it turns out that position and rotation are the only two properties which do not appear in the graph editor, which is a bizarre choice. The particles are 2D, but you can animate them in 3D space, and some have 3D properties too. So I've been playing around with this while talking, but now let's add a particle, animate it, and render it out to bring it into After Effects. I'm going to go for Chunk Explosion, and I'll click into the stage. Being a 3D type, I can rotate this around the axis. And up at the top of the photos, I can change the emitter type from point to a whole bunch of different ones. Circle is interesting, like some sort of exploding portal. And I'll have to try out the 3D object mode too. It takes C4D and OBJ files. Size lets me adjust the general size of the particles, but I can select the individual elements in the node panel and adjust their relative sizes. And I can do the same for particle life and range. By default, my project is 1080p at 30 fps and 300 frames. I can change that in project settings. This particle has a range of 360 frames, so I'll update my project to match. It's doing something weird with the leading rocks. I'll zoom in on the node view, and holding space I'll drag around to see if I can identify the subparticles. So it's the debris particle, and I can click into it and see its unique properties, including the images used to make it. What I couldn't figure out was why they appear to stop in space. However, the animation is 12 seconds long, so I'm not too worried. I wouldn't like to leave any effect on screen for that length of time anyway. If you do know how to correct this, post in the comments below and I'll pin your comment. Speaking of engagement, yeah, I know I wasn't, but go with it. Please like and subscribe. According to every expert in YouTube themselves, you can really help my channel out just by clicking like. Thank you. I've barely made any changes, but I'm happy with the result. Now time to bring this into After Effects. To do that, we need to render. Click the render button. And in the pop-up, set your location, and if you want an alpha channel, which you probably do, change the preset from ProRes 422 to ProRes 4444 straight alpha. If you're wondering why not pre-multiplied, check out this video from Captain Disillusion. Actually, even if you weren't wondering, check out his videos anyway. And then render it out.
In the olden days, particle illusion stage had to be the same size as the output window to render, and you had to download the Logarith codec to render out a lossless AVI file.
Nowadays, it's that simple. Bringing this into AE, the video imports as you'd expect, looking exactly like it did in Particle Illusion. Being a video file, you can now apply additional FX, position it better, matte it out, and so on. But you may also want to see your background plate in Particle Illusion, and in the free, standalone version of PI, you can't do that. There is a workaround, shared by the Boris team and endorsed by Alan Lawrence no less. I might make my own tutorial summarising this process, but in a nutshell, you edit the basic emitter to include a custom image. Boris have provided a range of useful, engaging tutorials. Take note, metal. I've also needed support from Boris for the free plugins, and they are quick to respond and helpful. In the past, there was another free, cheap version of Particle Illusion, and the more I used it, the easier the decision became to upgrade at the time, which I think explains their current freemium strategy. Regular use leads to paying for an upgrade. I think if I was using PI regularly, that pricing model is well worth it. But I make tutorials for beginners in AE and try to avoid pay for plugins, as I don't want you bombarded by having to spend more on top of your AE subscription. So I'll probably not buy it for myself. It's really tempting though. I'd say the majority of particles are not photorealistic, but are close enough, and almost all can be used straight from the library without tweaking. For me, I think Particle Illusion can be best thought of as a stock effects generator. If you need a particle effect, don't head straight to Production Crate or a stock footage site until you've gone through Particle Illusion's library. But what do you think? How often do you use particles in your videos? Would you like me to make tutorials involving Particle Illusion? And do you use Particle Illusion already?